All right, we'll keep rolling with Coach Snyder. We'll start over here on the left side in the middle, Suzanne, and we'll come up front.
Hey, Mark, I know a lot of your guys were talking about they needed to fit the gaps better, and Kevin was just talking about that. Is that something another offense is doing with the misdirection or the unbalanced lines that are kind of teasing your guys to abandon the gap?
Well, no, not necessarily. There's a lot of moving parts Saturday, and with those moving parts come a really good running game. And it just takes one guy to kind of get out of his gap, and you've got a seam. I felt like as the game went, especially after halftime, our guys really settled in and kind of knew what was coming, and that's maturity. That's growing up a little bit. And, again, as the game went, we kind of started knowing with those window dressing motions and so forth and so on what plays we were getting and played pretty well.
We'll go over here on the right side to Sam, and then we'll come up front.
Mark, what are the biggest challenges in defending a team that does so much quarterback run game like this team?
Well, I mean, it's part of what they do. I mean, it's, as you go through a schedule, a 12-game schedule, in a league like ours, you're going to see a little bit of everything. And from quarterback run to spread to power, that's the way our league is designed. And, we spend a lot of time in the offseason, spring ball, fall camp, getting ready for these, and then we try to recall once we get into game week.
And how good is Dak Prescott?
He's really good. Dak's really good. He, you can tell he's the cog that makes that engine go. Seems like he's got some real leadership skills. You watch the TV copies, the games when we're not playing, and he seems like a real leader of that team.
Front row here on the left side.
Coach Snyder, Coach Sumlin referred to Ivan Robinson as one of the unsung heroes in that game. Played 58 snaps, got a tackle in the overtime. Can you just touch on his impact?
Well, yeah, I mean, Ivan played well, and he's not the only one. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I think are getting overlooked. I thought Alonzo Williams played extremely well. Ivan played really well. Julian played really well. I thought our front played extremely well in that game.
We'll go to Gabe here and then over to Suzanne.
Or you kind of feel like their receivers get overlooked a little bit when everybody talks about the good receivers.
I agree with you, Gabe. Everybody knows about 4. I'm really impressed with number 1. He's a good player. I mean, he's a mismatch type guy. He's a big body guy. When they get in the red zone, they go to him. And when they need a big play in the passing game, that seems to be the guy that Dak's looking for. I've been impressed with that guy. Yeah, they get some other guys, but those are the 2 that stood out to me. In passing downs, they're looking for 4. If they need a big play, it looks to me like they're going to 1. He's going to 1, number 1.
Suzanne here in the middle. We'll go Mike in the back.
Twofold question. I've been listening to a lot of the national media, and they're talking about Mississippi State center being suspended, and that's like a huge deal. Can you talk? What have you seen on film that they'll be missing?
It's just like anybody having an injury. I mean, the other guy has played. I mean, they're putting guys in that's played. They've moved the right guard to left guard and the left guard to center. So those guys have all played. They've played together. So we're going to get their best shot.
And because Dak kind of gave y'all problems last year late in the game. How has he improved on film from last year?
Well, last year's game was a little different now. I mean, you look at the score, we're winning by quite a bit. It is a totally different game. So defensively, we're wanting the clock to run and get out of there with a W. That's the whole key. So a lot of his yards came really when the game's out of hand, in my opinion. We backed off, and if they wanted to run him, the clock's running. Let's get out of Kyle Field with a W. So maybe a little different animal this year playing over there. And obviously we're going to have to stop the quarterback run game. We know that. And a little bit like last week, it is what it is. We got to stop their running game and try not to give up any explosives.
We'll go to Mike in the back, and then we'll come back to Christy.
Someone mentioned how Justin Bass has been all over the field or all over the linebacker positions. Can you talk about the impact he made in Arkansas and what you can expect for him in Mississippi State? And as a two-parter, Master Giovanni seemed to be a little lost in the beginning of the game, but then at the end had that pass deflection and made a lot of plays. Can you talk about his impact as well?
Well, start off with Justin, your first question. Justin's Mr. Steady, probably not the most gifted guy in the world, but he's been in our system now for his 3rd year. He got to learn from the likes of Jonathan Stewart, who I thought was a very smart football player. Justin's kind of taken on that role. He can play Mike and Will and give us a blow. I agree with you. Jordan started a little shaky, a little rusty. And again, I think he was a little shell-shocked how good their backs were when he did encounter them. I agree with you. As the game went, our linebackers started playing better.
Go Christy here in the middle left, and then we'll come over there.
How have you seen Everett grow, not only as a player but as a person, since you've gotten him?
Well, you know, you hope that's the maturation process with all kids. You know, DeShazer did a great job leading Saturday, along with those other guys I mentioned. I mean, they did a fantastic job of leading, and I got to give a shout out to our crowd. They were awesome down the stretch. Our kids were feeding off of that. I was feeding off of that. That was great stuff.
Right side aisle, Sam.
What were some of your conversations with Armani Watts here in the days after Saturday?
You know, like you would talk with any young guy that's playing for you. You know, we've all been there. We've all done that. We'd be lying if we said we hadn't. And we're going to need him as we go. And we got to move on to the next game. And we'll see how he responds.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go to Gabe here in the middle right, and we'll end with KO.
When you're talking pre-snap awareness earlier and how that helped you guys, especially on the line, can you kind of take us through? I know Andy wrote a really nice piece about Quaylen Cunningham as a true freshman and his awareness and helping that D-line on that last play of the game.
You know what was interesting, Gabe, as the game went, the information we were getting back as coaches was outstanding. As I went back and watched the film, the information we were getting was pretty accurate information. Hey, I peeked my head here. I wasn't in my gap. Let's not go start junking our defense. Let's stick to the game plan, which was the battle cry all week. That stuff was good. As you got into the fourth quarter, as we got into the fourth quarter, if you watch it, guys are calling out the plays with motions and so forth. On the fourth down one, it's pretty impressive. I mean, you see Quaylen sitting here going, ball's coming right here to the C gap. It's coming right here. And that, you know, that's pretty good. I credit those older guys. Alonzo, Ivan, Julian, those guys played extremely, extremely well, gang. I mean, I was very, very proud of those guys. We talked about building a wall, and that we did, in my opinion.
KO, and then we'll come back end it with Daryl.
Coach, coming out of a game where the average line size was 7 foot tall, 400 pounds.
Right.
How much does this help, especially some of the younger players, knowing not only did they survive it, but they jammed them up, got them into overtime, and then jammed them up again?
Yeah.
How does that go down?
Point well taken. I mean, that's a confidence builder for those guys. They've been in it now. They've been in the trenches against 5 Paul Bunyan's, as you said in there, and held their own. You know, so it's got to be a confidence boost for them as we, stay in the SEC West the rest of the way.
All right, Daryl.
Coach, I know that Mississippi State is a team that I know they run the ball well, they throw the ball well too. I mean, this is probably maybe the first time that you're going to face a very well-balanced attack. Can you just talk about that differently than what you would face with Arkansas, where they run the ball a little bit more than they throw it?
I think there was a little bit of the same now. It's just a different type of running game. It's still – it's going to be the same kind of deal. They're 50-50 run-pass, just like Wisconsin was. If the running game's working, they're going to stick with the running game. If the running game's not working, they're going to go to the passing game. So we're going to have to see how the game unfolds. The difference to me is the different type of running game they bring to the table. It's not big, giant guys pounding the tailback at you. It's more of a big, giant quarterback trying to run over you.
All right. Thanks, Coach Snyder.
All right. Thanks, gang.